let's get into our driver ratings for the 2025 Formula One Japanese Grand Prix. For people just tuning on in, welcome on in. Every single Monday after a Grand Prix weekend, I go live over on Twitch and we do a review of the Grand Prix that happened that week. So we take a look at the highlights, we take a look at the drivers' reactions, we take a look at Discord and all the latest news and stuff like that. We then look at F1 Fantasy and we look at F1 Predict. Then we go live on TikTok and YouTube to do our driver ratings, where we go through every driver in reverse race finishing order and we rate them how we feel that they did out of 10. We kind of work together to do the ratings. We put a poll up in chat that you guys can vote on and stuff like that. And yeah, just to preface before we get into driver ratings, as always, the way I do driver ratings, we solely base it off of performance. There's no rookie bias. There's no expectation bias or anything like that. We rate their qualifying and their driver performance, race performances. So not just the race, it's overall their whole weekend performance-wise. And yeah, I rate from 1 to 10, 5.5, 5.5 kind of being the average in the middle. To get a 10, you need to have a perfect weekend. 1 is reserved for like, you have a terrible weekend, you crash, you suck, you come last, right? So that's how we do ratings. So let's get into it. Starting off with our first driver coming in last was Lance Stroll. So let's get the poll up in chat. Now, if you're watching over on TikTok or YouTube, come over to the Twitch chat to vote in the poll. Basically, all you need to do is a poll will come up, and all you need to do is type in Twitch chat the number you want to vote. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Obviously 10 being the best, being a perfect weekend. 1 being the worst weekend you've ever seen in Formula One. Yeah, otherwise YouTube and TikTok chat, just chill and chat along with us in discussing the drivers. But Twitch chat is where you need to come to vote on the poll. So let's start. Yeah. Sup, Faris? How's it going? Sup, Pranav? Give Max 10 and close the stream. Yeah, we've got 19 other drivers to talk about, man. We've got 19 other drivers to talk about. And who knows? Maybe Max isn't going to get a 10. Maybe Max isn't going to get a 10. He might not. You have to wait and see. Anyways, let's talk about Lance Stroll. Firstly, qualifying. He qualified in dead last. He was 4 tenths off of the driver in front of him, that being Jack Doohan. And he was 1 second, 9 tenths off of his teammate in Q1. His teammate Alonso went on to qualify P13, whilst Lance Stroll stayed in P20. Not sure what happened. What happened to Stroll for him to be that far down and be last, like really, really last this weekend? You dare not give Max a 10. Sup, Ant? Oh, yeah, you're coming over to the YouTube chat, I see. First run's error was 1 tenth off Alonso. Second run, he had an error. Okay, so he did make an error. Was it a team error or was it a him error? As I go, Prince, sup, H6, welcome to the stream. Wallahi, this guy's so arsed, man. The first 2 races had people forward. Hey, this is just one race, man. This is just one race. It was a him error. Okay. So then, in 20th, we went on to the race. Him and Doohan, was it Doohan? Started on the softs to try something different. And yeah, he got no moves done off the start. Obviously a hard track to overtake, as we saw. Then pitted for hards, didn't undercut anyone. His race pace was so bad. He was, what, 9 tenths off his teammate in race pace or something like that? 5 tenths? It was bad. One of the worst drivers in terms of race pace off of Alonso. Look, at the end of the day, he didn't crash. At the end of the day, there wasn't anything insane that he did wrong. He was just very, very slow this weekend to the point where he finished dead last in an Aston. Obviously, the Aston isn't amazing, but it shouldn't be that far last, especially when your teammate's doing quite well. So, yeah, I'm thinking I will give Stroll a 1.5. 1.5 or a 2, to be honest. Like, I can't give him the lowest rating because he didn't crash, but it's probably as worst of a weekend as you can get without crashing, let's be real. So I'm happy to give Stroll 1.5. But what are you guys saying? Again, vote on the poll, type in chat the number that you want to vote for. Some silly Billy voting 10. He had his 2 good races per season already, so now he's forced to be shit again. Does Lance really still want to drive, or is it mostly his father? I don't know. I don't really want to have this conversation, if I'm being honest, because it's only 1 race. Maybe Stroll will come back in the next races and be back to his normal or his form that he's had in the first 2 races. But yeah, that was standard Stroll performance of being so far off his teammate, especially with how tight the grid is now. This is where I expect Stroll to be with his 2024, 2023 form. So we'll see. If he stays like this the next couple races, we can definitely start having that conversation. But I really hope he comes back to that Australia and Japan form that he had. That'd be nice. That'd be nice. He had a two-stopper, but any driver could disagree with the strategy as soon as the race started. Yeah, but I wouldn't blame Stroll for the strategy. It was with where he qualified. You may as well have given it a go. But his race pace was just slow. His quali pace was just slow. He was just bad. He was just bad. I mean, I probably just gave up. So we can wait a couple. He probably just gave up so we can wait a couple of races. Stroll was on a vacation after carrying Aston on his shoulders the first 2 weeks. Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, not much more to really say about Stroll, so we'll end the poll there. Majority of you guys saying 2. Yeah, you know, considering you guys said 2, I'm gonna say 2 as well. I'm gonna say 2 as well because at the end of the day, 1 is reserved for a driver who crashes, just like we'd reserve 10 for a perfect weekend. 1 has to be reserved for like a literally like you crash, you fucking suck, you spin, you cannot drive the car, you're way off your teammate. At the end of the day, he wasn't that far off. He didn't crash. We'll give him a 2. We'll give him a 2. All right, moving on to our next driver. We have got in P19 in the race, we've got Gabriel Bortoleto. What do you guys give Bortoleto? Again, vote on the poll in the Twitch chat. What's up, FH Games? How's it going? Yeah, what do you guys rate Gabriel Bortoleto's weekend? So Bortoleto in qualified P17. He was only not even 1/10, under 1/10 off of his teammate. He outqualified Ocon, Doohan, and Stroll. So considering him and his teammate were very tight, I don't think he did that bad. I think it's more limitations on the car. Again, with how tight the grid is, I would like to see them kind of making Q2s, but I don't think he did bad in quali. And then in the race, he lost 2 positions off the start because you can clearly tell he's being very, very careful. And yeah, losing those 2 positions off the start meant he finished exactly where he started the race technically, finishing in P19 behind Liam and Ocon. Doohan moved up the grid, but Hulkenberg stayed put. He finished only 2 seconds behind his teammate. Holy shit. Doohan, Hulkenberg, Lawson, Ocon, and Bortoleto finished 2 seconds apart. 5 drivers were 2 seconds apart. Anyways, yeah, Bortoleto was definitely the weaker of the 2 teammates this weekend. That race start wasn't great, but I don't think he did bad. I think if an average weekend is like finishing just behind your teammate and like not really moving up the grid, going backwards and finishing behind your teammate pretty close in race pace, yeah, I'd probably say maybe like a 4, maybe like a 4 or a 3.5. What do you guys think, though? What do you guys think? Do you not watch the ending? That was sick. Yeah, it was. I remembered how close it was, but I can't believe it was that tight. Reserve 1 for Mazepin. Exactly. Knew he slowly turned the Aston Martin into Red Bull, and it's alienating last. Wait, what? What's up, Maxi Bev? Welcome to the stream. H6, thank you for the follow. What's up, Jarius? I wonder what Hydra will be. Yeah, we'll be ready Hydra soon. Again, we're going to reverse race finishing order. Yeah, I don't think I have much more to say about Bordello. Is 4 maybe too kind of a rating? Or is 4 kind of like, all right, the stake sucks. You got outqualified by your teammate. You lost 2 positions. It wasn't that great. Maybe a 3.5. Maybe I'll go 3.5. 4 is probably too kind. All right, we'll end the poll there for you guys. Majority of you guys saying 3. So, yeah, we'll move on to the next driver, considering there's not much to really talk about with him. All right, next up, we have got Esteban Ocon. Poll is up for Ocon. Get your votes in on the poll in the Twitch chat. You'll probably see a theme with these graphics. It's just going to say qualified 18th, finished in the race 18th. They're going to be very, very, very similar, I reckon. Yeah. Okay. So Esteban Ocon in qualifying, he qualified P18. He was 6/10 off of his teammate. Yikes. Bamman made it through to Q3. Ocon going out in P18, getting out qualified by the stakes as well. That is a very, very, very disappointing lap. And then in the race, he finished in P18, specifically 30 seconds behind his teammate. Obviously, yes, it's a lot of traffic at that track. But I think for Ocon, I don't want to say for Ocon standards, but Ocon's expectations, right, should be finishing next to his teammate. sorry, any driver's expectation is to be finishing next to their teammate. You know, Behrman has finished 8 positions up the road, has outqualified him by 8 positions, had much better race pace, had much better qualifying pace. I think unlike the Gabriel Bortoleto, where yes, he moved backwards, yes, he didn't have a good weekend, that is down to the car. I think Ocon had a very, very poor weekend. Not as bad as Stroll, but pretty bad. What did I give Stroll? I gave Stroll a 2. I think I would give Ocon a 2 as well. Maybe Ocon was a little bit worse, so we'll go 2.5. 2.5 for Ocon. Again, he didn't crash. He didn't really make mistakes. He was just slow. So, yeah, 2.5 for Ocon. Terrible weekend. You know, coming into Haas, I had high expectations for Behrman. I think a lot of people were like, man, you're really hating on Ocon. You know, how's a rookie going to beat him? But Ocon, for me, has just never had high potential. And I think a race like that showed me why a driver like Behrman will wipe the floor of Ocon. I think my prediction over the course of the year was Ocon will get more points because he'll have random races where he does well, like fucking China. But over the course of the season, I think Behrman will outperform Ocon. Team Eck and tears right now, honestly. He didn't lose any positions on a track where it's impossible to overtake. Yeah, true. STL Sports Fan, what's up? Welcome to the stream. What's up, Aldris? What's up, Eshin? What's up, Victor No Brain? A lot of new people in chat. If you guys are enjoying the stream, by the way, be sure to hit the follow button down below. We do driver ratings after every single Grand Prix on a Monday, so be sure to tune on in next Monday and the Monday after that for Bahrain and Saudi. Renault, thank you for the follow on the stream. What a tune. One of the Haas had a new floor, man. Context? Wait, so only Behrman had the new floor, so what you're saying? Didn't Ocon have the new floor, though? So shouldn't there be more of a reason for Ocon to do well? Like, bro went from 5th in China, which is Haas's second best result, to that. Yeah, I'm a YouTube viewer as well now. Let's go. All right, not much more to say really about Ocon, so we'll end the poll there. Majority of you guys saying 3. Really? A 3? Okay. You guys are a bit more kinder than I am. Let's move on to the next driver. All right, next up, we have got Liam Lawson. Poll is up. What do you vote Liam Lawson's weekend? Type in the Twitch chat, 1 to 10. Okay, in qualifying, Liam. So this is an interesting one, right? Obviously, Liam was a very shut up. Liam was a very watched driver this weekend. Obviously, with the whole context of moving back to VCARB, and replacing Yuki Tsunoda. In qualifying, he did outqualify Yuki Tsunoda, but he got outqualified by his teammate by only, this is the thing though, right? Only 1/10. So he missed out on Q3 by 1/10. So while Hadja qualified, I think P8 in Q2, sorry, Liam went out in 14th. It was so fucking tight between Liam, Alonso, Sainz, Gasly, Behrman, Albon, and Hadja. So people will look at the position Liam finished and go, he did so bad, but the gap is very, very small. So he got outqualified by his teammate by only 1/10. I think, again, Liam should be, with being the more experienced driver, should be outqualifying Hadja. But it was his first weekend. We don't take that into account. We don't take any like rookie bias or any excuses. We just look purely at the performance. And at the end of the day, he's only 1/10 off his teammate, but 1/10 isn't great. And then in the race, I didn't know this actually, but he stayed out on track long to help Hadja, and Hadja said it helped him in finishing where he did, so that's good. But yeah, obviously the whole race was just boring, so no one really did anything. Only Sainz and Liam tried a different strategy, because you may as well. You either finish outside the points and not try anything, or you finish outside the points trying something, but have the chance of doing something, getting a safety car, whatever. And that's what Liam and Sainz did. So he does look worse than what he actually was. It is one of those weekends where it's kind of hard to rate, because, you know, some people will look and be like, he was slow. Some people will look and say the car was slow. Say the strategy was bad. And some people will just, like me, look in the middle and just be like, well, it's kind of a mix of everything. So, yeah, I think Liam did have a less than average weekend. You know, he got outqualified by 1/10 by Hadja, and quite a few positions lower. He didn't really do much in the race. I think, unlike Sainz, who moved up a position after... Sainz actually moved up a few positions after pitting. Liam kind of got stuck and didn't make up a couple of positions. So, yeah, I think Liam had a under average weekend. I'm probably going to give him a 3.5 maybe. What did I give... What did I give Bortoleto? What did I give Bortoleto? I think I gave Bortoleto a 3, right? 3.5? I'd say he had a similar weekend of Bortoletto. Like, didn't do as good as teammate, but didn't do terrible. Kind of lost positions in the race, but didn't do much. I didn't give Bortoletto a 2. I gave Ocon a 2. No way I gave Bortoletto a 2. 3.5, the Mel, the glaze is real. Okay, be quiet. Guys, he said rate his performance, not how many races he had in a Red Bull. Yo, you guys are funny. You guys are funny. PM Pawson needs to lock in. I agree. I want him to lock in next race, man. I need to need him to lock in next race. What's up, Pete? No one remembers what I rated Bortoletto? Wait, let me go back in the VOD. Have a look real quick. I gave Bortoletto a 4. I gave Bortoletto a 3.5. Yeah. I think that's fair. I think Liam had the same weekend as Bortoletto. They both lost positions in the race. They were both lost positions in the race. Both got out-qualified by their teammate by 1/10. Both got outraced by their teammate by a bit, and didn't have a terrible weekend, but just was not a great weekend. So yeah, Bortoletto weekend was way better, right next to his teammate. While Hadja got 8. Yeah, that's true. No, fair enough. We'll give Liam a 3 then. That's actually a really good point. Bortoletto was at least close to his teammate, whereas Liam was nowhere near. But again, there are reasons why Liam was there, and I think it all just came down to that qualifying, such a tight margin. So yeah, I'll give Liam a 3. But I don't think it was as bad as people make it out to be. Same with Signs. When we get to Signs, I think people are going to be a bit more harsh on Signs. So yeah. Unfair, we don't have an option for 0.5. Yeah, true. But, I mean, you guys are voting as a majority, so. Yeah. Anyways, we'll end the poll there. Majority of you guys saying 2. A few of you guys saying 3, but majority saying 2. Okay, I see you guys. I see you. All right, let's move on to our next driver. Next up, we have got Nico Hülkenberg. Poll is up for Nico. 1 to 10 in Twitch chat. What do you rate Nico Hülkenberg's weekend? All right. Let's talk about it. So Hülkenberg qualified P16. Again, 1/10 ahead of his teammate. Less than a 10th ahead of his teammate. Wasn't able to make it through to Q2. Again, with how tight the season is, I would like to see him outperform the car a little bit more. But for all we know, Hülkenberg and Bortoletto are absolutely maxing that car right now, and there's not much they can really do. And then in the race, he held position. I would have said he probably did the most he could have in that stake, but he got overtaken by Doohan, so that's a little bit disappointing. Maybe a bit more props to Doohan than anything, but yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to rate Sauber. It's been this way for multiple seasons now. Like, how do you rate a car that's just does nothing the whole weekend? I don't think Hülkenberg was... I don't know. I feel like Hülkenberg was average. I feel like you got to give him a 5. Like beating his teammate and doing probably as much as he could in the car, that's an average performance. Like, a good performance would have been probably beating Doohan and getting closer to Gasly. A bad performance would have been losing out to... losing out to Bortoletto. I feel like 5 is probably like average. Like, he held position, but he didn't finish ahead of Doohan, and he finished ahead of his teammates. So I'm happy with a 5, to be honest. I don't think you can rate... I don't think you can sit here and be like, Hülkenberg had a worse than average weekend. So I'm going to say at 5. I think. James BFC, Goat on the Sticks. Wasser, welcome to the stream, guys. It's so cool. When I do driver ratings and do like a poll in chat, so cool to see how many people like type in chat for the first time, like how many people are lurking or whatever it may be. So, or maybe you guys are new to the stream. So if you are, be sure to follow down below. Another decent weekend for him. Yeah, I wouldn't say decent. It was just another, like, he showed up, he did his job, went home. You know what I mean? Like, nothing too crazy. Yeah. Average weekend for Liam. Started well though. Started well though the weekend. Okay. Unfair. We don't have the option. Oh, I read that. Sauber are better than last year. I'm excited to see how they develop. Yeah, exactly. They're definitely in a better spot than last year, but it's still not a great position. We're in the poll there. Majority of you guys saying 5. Other half of you saying 4. All right, we move on to our next driver. Next up, we move on to the top 15 now. We've got Jack Doohan. Poll is up. A reminder again, if you are on the TikTok or the YouTube stream, come over to Twitch. That is where you can vote on the poll. Type in YouTube or TikTok chat does not add to the polls. You have to come over to Twitch. So be sure to join us over here to vote. All you got to do is type in chat 1 to 10 what you rate the driver, and it'll pop up on the poll. So Jack Doohan, let's talk about his weekend. Started off with a bit of a bummy qualifying, P19. 7/10 behind his teammate Pierre Gasly, who qualified P11. So yeah, disappointing qualifying for Doohan. Very, very disappointing. Then in the race, I believe he was like Stroll and went on the sauce, right? Does the FP2 mistake count? No, yes and no. I'd say no. That's a pretty bad mistake though, but I'd say no. The reason it was took into account for Behrman in Australia is because that crash in practice affected his weekend. But that crash for Doohan didn't affect his weekend. Like, he still drove the session. He didn't have a mashed up car, you know what I mean? So yeah, if the practice crash doesn't affect their weekend, then yeah. No, we won't take it into account. Darius on a corner, a perfect 10. What's up, OT? Yeah, so was Doohan one of the drivers who started on the softs with Stroll? Let me have a look. I think he was, right? Oh, should be.
Welcome to the resumption side, I believe.
Was it going to cut too much and I won't be able to see? Yeah, he was. So he's one of the soft runners. So it's interesting. Stroll finished way down the order. But Doohan moved up, what was it, 4 places? Yeah, Doohan moved up 4 places. So it's interesting how the strat worked from one driver, didn't work for the other. So yeah, I don't know what to rate Doohan, to be honest. He ended up finishing in P15, ahead of Hulkenberg, Lawson, Ocon, and Bortoletto, but he finished 7 seconds down on Sainz and 20 seconds down on his teammates. So it's kind of like, I don't know. Like, what should I rate him? I don't know. Maybe like a 4, like disappointing qualifying, nowhere near his teammate in the race either. I don't know. I feel like it should be worse than a 4 though. Shorted a 2-stop. Oh, okay. It's generally difficult to tell where the Alpines stand because even Gasly has been all over the place. Yeah, but still, he was 7/10 off Gasly in qualifying, and he was 20 seconds off Gasly in the race. I don't know. Don't you feel like he should be lower than 4 because of how far he was off Gasly in the race and how far he was off in qualifying? Like, to think, I don't know. Like, to think Bortoletto was only 1/10 and 1 second off Hulkenberg, and he's getting the same rating as Doohan. It's kind of like, I don't know. 4 is below average. Yeah, but like relative to Bortoletto. Maybe I'm going to go 3.5. I'm going to probably go the same as Bortoletto. I feel like it feels criminal to give Doohan, who is that far off his teammate, a higher rating than Bortoletto. Yes, I understand Doohan made up positions, but like, maybe making up positions is worth it. What do you guys think? What's more important, being close to your teammate or making up positions? What's up, Steven? Hey, who would have been your driver of the day? Probably Max. Maxwell Hedger. Maxwell Hedger, easily. Apparently had a wrist injury. Interesting. All right, I'm going to say a 3.5 for Doohan, I think. I think it's too kind to give him a 4 just because he overtook some cars at the back with a strategy. But then again, that's good. But he's so far off his teammate. Well, I'm leaving it at 3.5. Too hard to rate these bums at the back. All right. Let's move on. Well, actually, what have you guys rated them? And the poll there. Majority of you guys are saying 4. Okay, you guys are saying 4. You're being kind. You're being kind tonight to old Jack Dewey. Okay. Whoa. That was the wrong number, obviously. Okay, moving on. Next driver in P14, we've got Carlos Sainz. All right. Poll is up for Carlos Sainz. Type in the Twitch chat what you vote. So, Carlos, in qualifying, he qualified P12, but he blocked Hamilton. He blocked Hamilton and got a 3-place grid penalty, so he dropped down to P15. He dropped down to P15. But he got out-qualified by Albon by 1/10. So very, very similar to what I said about Liam is like, yes, he was 3 positions below his teammate, but 1/10 isn't that much. You know, it's not too bad. Again, still being out-qualified by his teammate by 1/10, but it's not as bad as it makes 3 positions look. I think it's more the fact that Sainz probably should be making Q3 in a Williams and he's not, is what's disappointing. And then in the race, he finished 34 seconds behind Sainz. But again, just like I said with Liam, they both did a different strategy because why not? They both went very long on their tires. They couldn't really do much. The difference is Sainz came through the field on a few cars to finish P14, whereas Liam kind of got stuck in P17. So, yeah, I think it's a bit of a disappointing weekend for Sainz. I think I'm going to give him a 3.5 as well. What the fuck is happening to my keyboard? I think I need a 3.5 as well. But then again, I feel like he did better than doing this. I feel like I feel like I got the ratings fucked up a little bit here. Because I feel like Bortoleto and Sainz are in a similar spot of like being close, but not close to their teammate. Nah. No, actually 3.5 is fair. 3.5 is fair. We're going with 3.5. We're going with 3.5. He didn't lose positions. He gained positions, unlike Bortoleto. Bortoleto was close to his teammate, but Sainz and Duan were both kind of in the same position. I go 3.5 for Sainz as well. They're kind of all in that same boat. So yeah. Started 15th on the grid, remember? Yeah. So to be fair, he did move up 1 position. Yeah, 1 position. Sub 13. Anyone on the stream got fined for pooping? Yeah, bro. Getting fined for pooing is absolutely ridiculous, especially with a doctor's note. Anno, Goat, and Butterfly. Thank you guys for the follows. Welcome to the stream. Why does my camera look blurry? I'm tripping. Anyways, we're going to end the poll there. Majority of you guys saying 3. A few of you saying 4. A few of you saying 5. Okay. Interesting. A lot of you said 5. I don't feel like Sainz had an average weekend at all. All right, moving on. Next up, we have got Pierre Gasly. What do you rate Pierre Gasly's Japanese Grand Prix? Oh, my back. Why is my keyboard doing that? Oh. He's surprised for the win for Max. We'll talk about Max once we get to Max. Okay, Gasly in qualified P11. Again, maybe the Alpine's capable of making Q3, but he outqualified his teammate. Excuse me, by 7/10, which makes me think he probably did the best he could maybe in that Alpine. Maybe a little bit of room left on the table to make Q3. And then in the race, he unfortunately dropped 3 positions. He lost out to Yuki, which is fair enough because he's in a Red Bull. He lost out to Alonso. And he lost out to... No, it's just... Yeah, it's just them two. And then he gained on... I'm confused. Anyways, yeah, he lost positions in the race. He finished 20 seconds ahead of his teammate. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to tell where Alpine is. Part of me wants to say he probably should have made Q3, but then again, maybe he maximized the car in qualifying. In the race, he only finished 4 seconds behind Yuki in a Red Bull. So I don't know. I feel like he didn't do that bad. I think for those reasons, I'm just going to... What the fuck? I'm just going to give him a 5. Like, bang on average weekend. Didn't do good. Didn't do good, bad. Just kind of there in the middle. But what do you guys think? Yeah, guys, I would give him a 6, but he's bald, so I'll go 5. That's mean. 11 to 13 equals 3 positions. Unk math. Yeah, true. 2 positions, my man. I can't stop yawning. 3 because he was so slow to the toilet. Oh my god. You guys. Yeah, I don't really have much more to say about Gasly. He just kind of... Now the 5's disappeared. What the fuck's happening? Yeah, I don't really have much to say about Gasly. He kind of just... was there this weekend. To be fair, he was on the verge of points. He beat out a lot of drivers in qualifying. Maybe deserves a 5.5. Maybe we're looking too much at the car. Yeah, he lost positions in the race. We'll go 5. We'll do it 5. All right, you guys on the poll. Majority of you guys saying 5 as well. All right, we're banging these out. There's not really much to say about all these guys because nothing fucking happened. So, yeah, let's move on. Next up, we have got Yuki Tsunoda, a driver that we can actually talk a fair bit about. The poll is up in the Twitch chat for you guys to vote on. Get your votes in. All right, Yuki, how do we think he did on debut in his home Grand Prix? Because I think this is going to be a very polarizing one. I think a lot of people are going to look too much at his... I think a lot of people are going to do what happened a lot with Perez in 2023 and 2024, and they're going to look too much at it being relative to Max and being like, oh, well, he had a good weekend, but we're rating solely performances here. So, Yuki qualified in P15. He was 5/10 behind Max in Q2, and whilst Max put it on pole, Yuki qualified in P15. He got out-qualified by a 10th by Liam. He got out-qualified by Alonso, Sainz, Gasly, Bam, and Albon. Yeah. Relative, like, look, different conversation talking about Yuki in comparison to Perez and Liam. I'll get this out of the way, right? I'll get this out of the way before anyone starts talking shit, right? Relative to Liam and Perez, right? Yuki's come in the practice sessions, looked like he was close to Max. He actually looks like he could be potentially a driver who could drive this car in the future and be a good pick for Red Bull, right? In Q1, he set, what time did he set? In Q1, he set a 27.9. Max set a 27.9. So he matched Max in Q1. So he was looking okay, or looking good. Q2, though, completely fumbled, 5/10 off. I don't know if it was the tire warm-up or a mistake or whatever, but he was 5/10 off, right? So he looks like he has the potential there to be better than Liam and Perez. But the problem was when he needed to do it most, he went out in P15, and then in the race, he only managed to move up 3 positions. One on Sainz, who got a pen. One on Liam, who, for obvious reasons, he finished behind. And then the other... Alonso? No. Wait, who else did he beat? Wait, I'm confused. Gasly? No, he didn't finish ahead of Gasly. Oh, he did Gasly. Yeah, sorry. And Gasly's the other one. Yeah. And then Gasly. So yeah, I mean, look, he did move up the grid, but I mean, it's pretty obvious why he moved up the grid. He ended up finishing 58 seconds behind Max. So my question is, right, the way I do ratings is I rate it based off performance. And he was 60 seconds off of his teammate in the race. He was 5/10 off his teammate in qualifying. If you took out the fact that it's Max and it's a Red Bull and it's his debut and blah, 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 looking solely at that performance, it is a very bad weekend. In context, yes, I agree. I wouldn't rate him this low. But I think with the context of being so far off your teammate, not moving up the grid in a car that your teammate won in, I think it's a very bad weekend. So I think I'm going to give Yuki a 2, I think. Again, in the context, I'd rate him higher, but that's not how I do ratings. So I understand you guys are going to lose your shit, but it is what it is. I'm not rating based off of... At the end of the day, Max won, and he finished P12. He didn't beat anyone. He was P12 out of P12. He made mistakes in qualifying, but managed to gain positions in the race. Yeah, but he gained position on Liam, who was on a different strategy. But that overtake he did on Liam was really nice, to be fair. It was really, really nice. And he did it before that happened. He did it on Carlos Sainz, who got a grid pen. So he didn't even overtake Sainz. And he did it on Pierre Gasly. Yeah. That's a little harsh, I'd say. How is it harsh? How is it harsh? Let's take the context out of it. Out-qualified by your teammate by 5/10 and 15 positions lower than your teammate. 1 minute behind your teammate in the race, 12 positions behind your teammate. In what world is that higher than a 2? In what world do you hear a driver finish 12 and 15 positions behind their teammate, 1 minute off, and that's higher than a 2? But Mert Erdem, that is taking context in the situation. We're rating their performance, and so look at the performance. I think this is gonna be this will just have to be a rating that I'm just gonna stick to personally and move on from, because I don't think people agree with people just don't agree with people don't understand how I do my ratings. We're rating the performance. his performance is 5/10 off his teammate in qualifying, 15 positions lower. 1 minute off his teammate in the race, 12 positions lower. Yes, he made up some positions in the race, which I've given him a point for. And yes, he made no mistakes and didn't crash, which I've given a point for. Hence why he's better than Ocon. Hence why he's better than Stroll. But again, look at the weekend. Performance-wise, it's a poor weekend. Maybe I'll go 2.5. Maybe I'll go 2.5, matching. Oh my god, why does it do that? But again, if I'm rating context, if you guys want me to give him a rating based off of context of the Red Bull being hard to drive and it's his debut, I'll give him a 4 or maybe a 5. I don't know. I don't even know what to rate in the context of things, because it's like, okay, well, in the context of things, he was close in Q1, only made one mistake in quali, and blah blah blah. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to rate him in context, because there's so many reasons as to why he did good or why he didn't do that good. I'm hopeful for Yuki though. I'm hopeful for Yuki. But this weekend it was not a good weekend, right? It was not a good weekend. You can't give him less than Liam. I don't give him less than Liam. What did I give Liam in China? I think I gave Liam a 1.5, didn't I? I'm fairly sure I gave Liam a 1.5 in China. What are you talking about? You just want Liam back. Yep. Here's a few days, unlike Lawson. Is the second Red Bull seat a poison chalice? It is his first weekend in the trickiest car in the grid. Yeah, but that's taking context into things. This compared to teammate thing is a bit flawed. Doing is a bit easier teammate to have than Max Verstappen. That is true. No, I do agree. That's the only thing you can take the context into, is looking at teammate and being like, okay, well, are they expected to be close to Max, blah, blah, blah. But still, the car was capable of getting P1 in qualifying. It was a very hard car to drive. Actually, you bring up a good point. Because later when I talk about Yuki, later when I talk about Max, I'll talk about how the car is to drive. So you kind of got to take that into context with Yuki as well, you know? Given where that car probably should have been, qualifying P15 isn't that bad. Finishing P12 isn't that bad. Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point. I think I was looking too much at the teammate, but you're right. What would I raise that up to then? It's such a hard one to rank, man. It's such a hard one to rate. I don't know. Even Helmet says the race was difficult to overtake. He had one mistake in qualifying that changed his result. Yeah, but you can't have those mistakes in qualifying when you're in a Red Bull, you know what I mean? And that's the problem, right? We're rating the performance. I think 4 for Yuki, to be fair. I don't know. First weekend he did well. Race no overtake if possible. Kind of cucked him, yeah. How on earth do you give Yuki less than Liam? I should have rated Liam lower, to be fair. But bro gave Liam a 3. Oh, you're talking about this week that I gave Liam a 3. Well, I mean, yeah, Liam was only 1/10 off his teammate in qualifying. Yuki was 5/10. Liam's in a V carb. Yuki's in a Red Bull. Yeah. Are you happy now? I'll give him the same rating as Liam then. Car's capable of race win. The rest is skill. Yeah, exactly. I find it crazy to rank him that low when you rank Lawson that high. I gave Liam a 3. I actually hate the Red Bull cars so much. The same thing happened with Checo. Checo will literally finish 1 minute behind his teammate, 4 positions down on his teammate, and I'll give Perez a 3. And everyone's like, guys, it's Ponden, it's at least a 6, man. It's at least a 6. He had a good weekend. How is finishing a minute behind your teammate an above average weekend? How is finishing a minute behind your teammate an above average weekend? How is finishing 15 positions below your teammate in qualifying an average weekend? It's a below average weekend. In the context of things, Yuki did average. In the context of things, Yuki did average. I rate performances. I'm going to move on. I'm giving Yuki a 3. I think he's got a lot of potential. In the context of things, I think he had an average weekend. Looking solely at performance, 15 positions lower in qualifying, 5/10 off. 12 positions lower in the race, 1 minute off. Yes, the car is hard to drive. But I would like to see Yuki being better and closer to Max to get a higher rating. Again, we rate performances. We base them off of their teammate. And I'm going to say a 3 for Yuki. No 5 is average if you understand distribution. What is average then, Dons? What is average? Yuki deserves a 2. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Because your teammate is literally a demon that can drive a tractor. Yeah, true, true. His teammate is Verstappen, though. If he did the same thing but finished 3 places above someone like Doohan as a teammate, you give him a 7 or what? Wait, his teammate is Verstappen, though. If he did the same thing but finished 3 places above someone like Doohan as a teammate, you give him a 7 or what? Yeah, I don't know. No, you bring up a good point. You bring up a good point, and I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what to answer to that. But also, I just think people look at the Red Bull and just kind of be like, oh, you need to finish 2 minutes off of your teammate and be like the thing is, you guys were critical on Liam. You guys were critical on Liam and gave him a 1 for finishing a minute off max. And now Yuki's finished a minute off max, and it's but take the context into it. So should have Liam got on a 1 in China, or should he got on a 3 like Yuki? But Liam finished 50 seconds behind his rookie teammate. Now that is also a 3. That's a 1. Yeah, I know. We could go around it in circles, so I don't know what to do. Agree to disagree. Think definitely deserving of a 4. Yeah, I think we're just going to have to agree to disagree. No, man, we gave him a 1 for qualifying last 2 times. Yeah, fair. But he moved up position to the sprint. Then Liam finished almost a minute behind his rookie teammate. Yeah, good point. All right, how about this then? I'll give Yuki. You guys have brought up some good points, hence why I like doing this on stream and actually discussing it. It just frustrates me so much how I can sit on the stream and repeat myself so many times about performance and performance, and we don't take any bias into it. And then people are like, yeah, but this. And it's like, no. That's taking context into it. We're rating the performance. So I give Yuki a 3.5. We'll give Liam a 2.5. Does that sound better then? Because, yeah, you guys bring up a good point. Now talking about Yuki, now talking about Doohan and Gasly, it makes a lot more sense to rate Liam lower, considering he finished that far off his teammate. But you've also got to remember the reason Liam finished so low was because he did a different strategy, like Sainz. No, actually, no. Liam didn't finish. Liam shouldn't have finished 50 seconds off of his teammate because he did a strategy to help Hadja, and it was a stupid strategy, just like Sainz. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, but Sainz finished blah, blah, blah seconds off, 34 seconds off of his teammate because it was the strategy. Liam glazing again. Yep. No, I'm sticking to it. The only reason Liam finished so far off his teammate was because of the strategy that they should have done. They took a risk with the strategy and he finished low. I'm saying with 3 for Liam, 3.5 for Yuki. Is in that context. In my opinion, the only way to properly gauge a Red Bull, we'd have to see what Alonso or Hamilton would do in that car, in my opinion. I disagree on Hamilton. Alonso, I agree. I don't know if... I mean, Lewis is struggling in a Ferrari right now, so I don't know how he would do in a Red Bull, to be honest. Shortest Lawson conversation on the Ponden stream. Okay, guys, he's up the score. Now, complain it's too high. Let's keep this guy. Here's one for everyone. I bet you gave Yuki a high rating first 2 races because he drove amazing, but team fucked the strategy. I bet you gave Yuki a high rating first 2 races because you fucked the strategy. Yeah. We're going to move on. I'm happy with this rating. I've given my reasons. If you don't like it, fair enough. We'll agree to disagree. But again, in the context of performance, Yuki finished 1 minute behind his teammate in the race, 12 positions lower in qualifying, 5 tenths off in qualifying. In the context of it being his first race for Red Bull, I think he's done very well, or quite well, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he does in the future races. I think he will be better than Liam and Perez moving forward. But at the end of the day, finishing a minute behind your teammate, just solely looking at performance, shouldn't be happening. Yes, I agree, Max is an outlier of how good he is, and we shouldn't be matching him to Max. But I think if that car, even looking at that car, and it should be finishing P6, he's still 40 seconds down on P6. You know, he's still not qualifying in the top 10, which is where the Red Bull should be, despite how poor that car is. I understand your guys' point about, oh, but you've knocked Yuki down when Liam was also 50 seconds off his teammate. But the reason Liam was 50 seconds off his teammate was because he was one of 2 drivers of him and Sainz who did a different strategy, and he helped his teammate. And in that context, you can't rate Liam and be like, oh, well, he's so far off his teammate, but there's a reason why. Whereas Yuki has no reason as to why he finished 50 seconds off his teammate other than his performance wasn't good enough. So, yeah, I'm going to say 3.5 for Yuki, and I am going to move on before I lose my mind and before you guys keep losing your mind. The poll are saying 5. So, majority of you guys are saying that on average, a Red Bull should be for a second Red Bull car. An average weekend for a second Red Bull car is 12th in the race, a minute off their teammate, and 15th in qualifying. So, I'll let you guys sit with that one and see if you made the right decision. But I think saying the Red Bull, on average, the Red Bull should be finishing 12th to 15th. I disagree. Anyways, moving on. We're going to move on. We'll move on. Next up, we have got Fernando Alonso. Let's get the poll up. Poll is up. That's not what you said? Yeah, but you voted 5 on the poll. We aren't saying it should finish there every weekend, but you've said that performance is an average. A race-winning car that Max won and qualified, you're saying average is a 5. Six as a rookie. That's context! Oh my god. I can't wait to get more into the season so we can get away from this first race rookie. Remember last week with the debut, and remember the last week with the Kimi Antonelli rookie conversation? That was one of the worst. That was one of the worst conversations ever on the stream. I might just not do driver ratings for 3 weeks until we get away from the rookie and debut stuff, because it's actually ridiculous. That's context, man. That's context. I don't care, because all it does is make Checo look good for finishing 8th in the Red Bull. True. In context, hearing you, I would probably change it to 3. I think people are ignoring it too much that Red Bull this weekend was way better than last week, and Verstappen struggled way less, for example. How's it going? Abdallah. It's easy to rate low on the final position, but if the team fucked you with a strategy or a bad pit stop, it doesn't mean you suddenly had a bad race. Exactly. Is it worth to compare Yuki's performance in the Red Bull to Lawson's in the Red Bull, considering they might have similar talent? Just a suggestion. Well, yeah, that's why I said, based off of the last week, I think Yuki did do better, hence why he's got a better rating than what Liam got last week in China. Yeah. You always say yourself that even when rating only performance, it matters who your teammate is, so it should be a bit of a factor, at least. Not saying he should get a high rate, but 3.5 to 4 is fair in my opinion, since if it was Liam and Yuki in the Red Bull this weekend, we would rate Yuki a 6 for the same result. But yeah, see, this is the thing though, right? You actually make a really, really good point, Ravenko, right? If Liam and Yuki were both in the Red Bull this weekend, and Yuki qualified P15, and Liam qualified P18, Yuki would get a P8, right? Yuki would get a rating, an 8 rating. A 6 rating? I don't know what I'm saying anymore. Yuki would get a high rating because he out-qualified Liam. But the thing is, if you know that the Red Bull was capable of getting first on the grid and they're qualifying P15 and P18, you would rate them low. But all we have to go off of is their teammate. And we can see that the Red Bull was capable of winning the race. Whereas if, yeah, you did have Liam and Yuki in the car and it was undrivable, we probably would give Yuki a higher rating. It's just a really tough, unique situation to be in, where it's like, yeah, it's such a weird, unique situation. You've got the best driver on the grid in the hardest to drive car. The car is capable of winning when it's in the right window, but it's so bad when it's not in the right window. So it's just like, man, it's hard. There's a whole lot of what ifs. It's not what happens, so it's a silly example. Yeah, exactly. It's hard. We'll move on. I get your guys' points. I hope you guys get my points. I think it just depends on how you rate. I'm going to rate based off of performance. You guys are going to rate based off of Liam in China. You're going to rate based off of the car and where the car should be, not with a Max Verstappen performance, but with a normal performance. I think at the end of the day, it's such a unique, it's a great situation to talk about. It's such a unique, fucky situation. no one ever going to agree on what to rate Yuki or to rate Liam in that Red Bull. I'm just trying to keep my opinion consistent for when Liam was in the car and when Checo was in the car. And my opinion is you have to rate based off of what the car's capable of. And Max proved the car is capable of P1. So we can't sit here and say Yuki had an average weekend of a 5 rating when he finished P12, 1 minute behind his teammate in a car that was capable of winning. But I do agree it's hard to tell when Max is absurdly good. So, yeah. Probably very specific Red Bull. Anyways, let's move on. Fernando Alonso. P13 in qualifying. He out-qualified Lance by 9/10. So he out-qualified Lance by 9/10. Again, now I'm going to hear, but Lance is a shit teammate, so he didn't do that good. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Lance probably did do worse than what Alonso did good. But, yeah, P13 in the Aston. It's kind of hard to tell where the Aston was this weekend. I feel like Aston's just, like, on the verge of points. They're always a team that's, like, on the verge of points. He then qualified P13 in Q2. He got out-qualified by Sainz and Gasly. And Behrman, it's kind of like, should he be out-qualified by them? I mean, again, like I said with Hulkenberg, we're in this stage of Formula 1 now where I think driver is so important and the cars are all so close. So I would like to see Alonso doing better than this. But he out-qualified Liam, he out-qualified Yuki. And yeah, his teammate by 9 attempts. So I don't know. It's like maybe like a slightly above average. Maybe average. No, average. I'd say that's an average qualifying for Alonso for for that Aston Martin. I think Aston could be getting Q3s on a good day. But it could be getting last, as we saw with Stroll on a bad day. So, yeah. Then in the race, Alonso managed to move up 2 positions. One on Sainz, obviously, and the other on Pierre Gasly. He managed to hold off Yuki Tsunoda on a Red Bull, which was pretty good, and finished only 3 seconds behind Behrman, who was started a little bit up the road from him. So yeah, I think Alonso had decent race pace, out-qualified his teammate, finished ahead of Yuki. He was just on the verge of points. I think, again, the Aston Martin is probably capable of out-racing Haas, but in qualifying, yeah, he probably should have done a better job in qualifying to out-qualify Behrman. But I don't know. I feel like Alonso's had a pretty average weekend. Would I say above average? Maybe. I think qualifying was maybe bang on average. Race was, yeah, I'd say race was above average. I'll go 5.5. I'll go 5.5 for Alonso, I think. Again, it's really hard to rate. I think in general, like this relates to the Yuki and Liam conversation and the Red Bull conversation. This relates to this relates to everyone, right? I think right now it's so hard to rate drivers because one, it's the start of the season. We still don't know the pecking order of the cars. Two, because of that, the teammates are all over the place. It's kind of like, is a teammate doing bad? Is a teammate doing good? Stuff like that. But 3, that race was just a stinker. Nothing fucking happened. So it's kind of like, it's kind of hard to rate, 5.5 is harsh while destroying his teammate. True. I do agree. But then again, I'm going relative to the car. So like, I don't know, maybe I'm contradicting myself now, but I'm going relative to the car. I feel like the Aston Martin should probably be qualifying P12 and he qualified P13. I think it should be finishing where he finished. So I think that's, yeah, actually, you're right. That was pretty good. That's pretty good. Maybe it was actually a good weekend. I'd say 6 then. 6. How do you know where the car is? Look at race. Look at the pecking order, which again, we're really early on in the season, so it's hard to tell the pecking order. But looking at the pecking order and looking at simulator data coming into the weekend, so again, like the Aston Martin, I think should have been capable of getting like P13 in qualifying, which he did. And like again, the Red Bull should have been a 3rd to 4th place car this weekend, and yeah. Maybe, again, looking back at Yuki, maybe Yuki was a little bit, I mean, yeah. If we're saying the Red Bull was the 3rd or 4th best car this week and he still finished 7 positions below that. Aston said on Spanish TV that there was unironically one of his best races. I don't know how much of that is true. Interesting. Aston was clear 9th this weekend. I don't think the Aston is that good. Is it though? From what I've seen since China, Haas looks like the better car by a decent margin. Just because Aston was good 2 years ago doesn't mean it's good now. Alonso had a really good race in my opinion. Yeah, true. Alonso said on Spanish TV. Oh, I read that. Aston is trash so far. Let's wait for the upgrades in Miami. Are they confirmed they're bringing upgrades to Miami? He was happy about Max giving him a +1. True. To me, that will be the biggest advantage on the grid. Did Newey have his hands on designing this year's car? No, he's only just gone off garden leave, so and only just joined the team at the start of the season, so he probably won't help them. You can't sit here, guys, and say Yuki would have a high rating if Max wasn't his teammate. Well, sorry, last time I checked, he is, so that's the comparison. It's not unique. Many times in F1 history, we've seen talented drivers completely outperform their teammates. Yeah, true. Problem wasn't there. I just mean it's unique in the sense of the car being poo, but one driver can drive it and the other can't. Problem wasn't there this weekend. RB was stable. Okay. I've scrolled a bit too far. Alonso full finish race for the year. True. His first time finishing a race. Still not on the points though. Put into perspective, the Ferrari and Williams are 4 and 5 in the constructors, and Aston is 7. They're underperforming, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know. You make a good point about this could be Alonso's best race. It's so hard to rate, man. This is why I love doing this on stream. I used to do driver ratings where I'd do my ratings off stream, and then I used to do my ratings off stream, and then I'd hop on stream and I'd be like, "Fuck, you guys make a good point." And you have made a good point about Alonso. This was actually a good race for him, given where that Aston is. So maybe I will go 6.5. To be honest, I'll go 6.5. I don't know if I can sit here and say Alonso's had a good weekend with how tight the grid is. I think he should have qualified higher, and with how, but I think he did good in the race to only finish a few seconds behind Behrman and ahead of Tsunoda. Yeah, what about the context of the rookie getting his first finish should be higher, in my opinion. Colapinto should have gotten the Red Bull seat, you reckon? Do you agree? Colapinto should have gotten the Red Bull seat. I disagree. Colapinto crashed his Williams too many times. I think he'd crashed the Red Bull too many times. And I don't know. I rate Colapinto, but I think he's rated a bit too highly, in my opinion. You should have been able to overtake those slower cars. The points should have been doable since he was out of place. Yeah, I agree. Alonso went 8. Finally, a clean race without issues. Comprehensively beat Stroll. The Williams, Haas, and Alpine were better cars, and he beat Yuki Ocon, Sainz, Gasly doing. Yeah, good point, Andrew. Good point. 8, mate. You didn't get a podium. Alonso a 6. Didn't get points, but did well with the tools he had. You don't rate based on the driver getting a podium. You rate based on the driver's performance. I agree with that. But I wouldn't go as high as 8, though. You have to compare him with Max. Then you can see if he's getting a better race after the race. It's normal. He scores low now. Sup, YP? What do you think Red Bull would do if Yuki doesn't do as well as everyone thinks? I don't think it's about as well as everyone thinks. I think it's as well as, I don't know. You gotta see his potential, and I think he showed potential in practice and in qualifying that he can keep a control of that car. It's just that window is so small. It's so hard to be in that window. Yeah. Anyways, we'll move on from Alonso now. We've spoken a lot about him. Okay, majority of you guys saying 6 for Alonso. Yeah, I've gone 6.5. All right, moving on. Next up, I have got next up is Ollie Behrman. We move on to the top 10 now. What do you guys rate Ollie Behrman? Guys, if you're just tuning in to the TikTok or the YouTube stream, come over to Twitch. That is where you can vote on the poll. If you are new, all you have to do is type in chat what you rate Ollie Behrman, and then it will go up on the poll. So yeah, type in chat where you vote for him. I think you guys are on ads right now. I see. So many people on ads. I'll wait for ads to end. We did not speak about Alonso. We did. I said Alonso finished 3 seconds behind his teammate. I upped his rating. What do you mean? Alright, just waiting for ads to end. No, Colapinto also a rookie. I don't think Red Bull seat suits anyone without experience. Yeah, that's true. You just need time. I think you just need time. Regardless, of, even if fucking Lewis Hamilton hops in that Red Bull, you need time, man. You need time. Butterfly, Protea, and Tom. Thank you guys for the follows. We're on the stream. All right, Twitch ads should be done now. Welcome back. Guys, we're on Ollie Behrman now. Type in chat what you vote Ollie Behrman's weekend. Okay, so Ollie, in the Haas, he out-qualified his teammate by 4/10. But he outqualified him by 8 positions, making it through to Q3. He beat Gasly, Sainz, Alonso, Lawson, Sonoda, the Saubers. He did an awesome job. He did get outqualified by 2/10 by Albon and Hadja, but I don't think the Haas should have been capable of making Q3. I just think he really strung it all together to make it through to Q3 there. And he did an awesome job. I think that's probably the best he could have done, was make it through to Q3 and just try his best in getting a lap in. And then in the race, he managed to hold on to points. He held off experienced Fernando Alonso. Again, we kind of spoke about it. Alonso's probably not in a good car anyway. He held off Yuki Tsunoda. He held off Gasly. Sainz was on a whack strategy. Again, this comes back to kind of like, we're in this weird spot of like, we don't know the pecking order. So we could sit here and be like, wow, Behrman in a Haas. He held off Alonso and Yuki and all these guys. Whereas it's like, at the same time, I'm kind of like, I actually think the Haas is better than the Aston. I think the Haas should be beating Yuki in the context of things. I think it should be beating Alpine. I think it should, well, I mean, it shouldn't be beating Sainz, but Sainz shouldn't have been on that strategy. So I'm kind of like, well, Behrman kind of finished where he should. But it was an amazing weekend because of how much better he did than his teammate. And at the end of the day, it's all relative to your teammate. He finished 30 seconds ahead of his teammate, 10 positions ahead of his teammate, got another point for Haas. I think Ollie's had an amazing weekend. I think again, he's done the job. I think making it to Q3 was amazing. I think what he did in the race was probably expected for where he qualified. I think he put all the work in. I think he put all the good work in qualifying. I'm gonna say 8.5 for Behrman. I'm saying 8.5. Some Asian skills. Ocon is a good driver though. Is he though? Is he? Back to the points for Behrman. Yeah, he's doing awesome. Should be beating Yuki. In the context of that Red Bull not being in the top 10 in however many fucking races, I think that Haas is expected to beat Yuki. Yeah. Ocon is hit or miss. 8.5. What, you disagree or agree? Shay, you think it's too high or too low, Paddy? Has incredible highs, but is sometimes inconsistent. I don't know. Maybe, am I being too harsh on Behrman? But I feel like the Haas is near the pace of, like, correct if I'm wrong, the Haas is near the pace of the Racing Bulls and the Williams. So why has he finished 14 seconds behind them? And why has he been outqualified them by 2/10? Like, am I being too unfair on the Haas, or are you guys being too kind to the Haas? Because, like, Haas finished 5th last week. Haas finished best of the rest last week. So I don't know how a P10 behind a Williams, behind a Racing Bulls is a 10. A 10 for me for Behrman would be out qualifying Albon and finishing ahead of, what the fuck, bro? For Behrman to get a 10, I would need him to finish ahead of Albon. Ahead of Albon and Hadja, and ahead of probably not even Hadja, just ahead of Albon. But he finished 14 seconds behind him. I don't know. What could be done better? V-Carb and Williams are a step ahead. Is Williams a step ahead though? Like, am I being too unfair? I don't know if I'm being too unfair. I'm not gonna lie. I cannot believe that today we're having probably the most disagreements about ratings, or the most spread in ratings. I think it just goes to show how everyone's so confused with the pecking order at the moment. Like, I think he finished where the Haas should be. But some of you guys think he's excelled in that Haas and absolutely put on a fucking show. What is this song, man? Thank you. I'm trying to look if there's like a... it's so hard to tell because Ocon did so poo. It's hard to tell, man. Again, I think at the end of the day, there's no right or wrong answer. It's all opinion based. Yeah, I think he's done the job for the Haas. I think he's done the job. I don't think you should get a 10 for doing the job. I think you get a 10 for excelling. I think you get a 9 for excelling. I don't think he's excelled. I think he's done the job. He's done a very good job. But you guys have just told me that Alonso is in a shit car and he beat Alonso. So how is that exceptional? You know what I mean? I think there's like different ways you can look at it. You can look at everyone who finished behind Bam and Alonso and say they did bad. Or you could look at Bam and Alonso and say they did the job. I think Alonso did a good job. I think Bam did a very good job. But like, you guys have told me Alonso's car's shit. You've told me Yuki shouldn't be. You told me Yuki's had an average weekend. You told me Gasly's had an average weekend. You told me Sainz has had an average weekend. So Behrman's beat all those people I just named, and you're saying it should be a 10? Hot take, but RB21. I'm not going to read that because we're moved on from Red Bull now. Why is his neck so long? He's like me, man. We got long necks, man. We got long necks. You keep saying to compare to teammates, so compare him to Ocon. But I think Ocon's had a poo weekend. You compared to teammate and you compared to where the car should be. And I think he's had a better weekend than Ocon, absolutely, which is why his rating is so good. But I think he's kind of finished where he should. Where he should be like P11, P12. So he's done good. I think 8.5. But it was 9 out 10. The quality gap between Ocon and Behrman was massive, if I recall. Yeah, it's such a hard weekend, man. Because, again, we don't really get to see the teammates after qualifying because the race was so hard to overtake. The UK qualifying pace is monstrous. Yeah, true. If you compare to teammate, then Alonso should get 10 as well. Yeah. It's all over the place, man. I think it's all over the place. I'm going to leave Behrman at 8.5. Very good weekend. I think there's the opportunity to do better in race pace and quali pace. But I think he's had an awesome weekend. But it's... Put it this way. Sainz, Yuki, Gasly, Liam, Stroll doing so bad means we don't really have Behrman to compare too many people to. And I'm not just going to give him a 10 because he did the job and there was no one else there. I just think everyone else did a bad job. That's why I think, fairly sure everyone we've done prior to Behrman and Alonso got lower than a 5. So we can't then just go, oh yeah, Behrman, you get a 9 and 10. You beat a bunch of people who underperformed. Like, I don't know. Maybe you could say that's unfair. He can't get a good rating unless other people do good. But I don't know. I just think everyone did poo. I think so many people did poo this weekend. Suzuka's the high-speed corner circuit, which is exactly what the Haas struggled with in Oz. For them to even be in the points 2 races later is insane. True. I see Haas as a Q2 car, so getting in the points is great. Yeah, fair. Behrman and Alonso, same score, 8, I reckon. The glazing for Fernando is crazy. 8. He put into Q3 after Sainz, and Lawson didn't put their better cars there. He finished 10th behind better cars and ahead of underperformers and lesser cars. Yeah, I'm happy with 8.5. I'm gonna stick to that. All right, we move on. Actually, what have you guys given? Behrman, I haven't even looked. Okay, so majority of you guys saying 9, then a good amount of you saying 8 and 10. Yeah, look, 9. I understand the combo for a 9, but for me personally, I don't see how he had a perfect weekend. I don't think it's a perfect weekend when so many people did bad. He didn't beat Albon, and he kind of probably could have done better in qualifying. But again, it was good. I'm not taking it away from it. He did fucking good. He did good. But yeah. Anyways, moving on. Next up, we have got Alex Albon. All right, polls up for Albon. Get your votes in. 1 to 10. What do you vote Albon? Type in Twitch chat 1 to 10 what you vote Albon. Why is all slow music playing today? I want hype music. Bring the hype music back. All right, Alex Albon in Q1. Where are we? Q1. He went out in. He qualified P9. He got out qualified. He only just got out qualified by Lewis and Hadja, and out qualified Behrman by 0.2. He's out qualified his teammate by 3 positions and 1/10. So this is a hard one, right? So Albon outqualified Sainz by 1/10, which is good, but it's nothing crazy. It's just 1/10, right? So I think it was more Sainz underperformed than Albon overperformed. I think relative to where that Williams should be making Q3s. So I think Albon's done his job. I think with how close it was and where Hadja qualified, I would have loved to have seen Albon outqualify Lewis and Hadja. But again, that's more of a he's not done bad. It's just what I would have liked to have seen. Excuse me. Yeah, and he's outqualified Behrman by 2/10. So I think he's had a good qualifying. He's had a really good qualifying. And then in the race, he has finished in P9 as well. He's held the exact same position. He's finished 3 seconds behind Hadja. I think, from what I understand, Liam held up Albon or something to help Hadja, but I don't know if it would have made a difference because of how hard it was to overtake at the track. He's finished 14 seconds up the road from Ollie, and he's finished 34 seconds up the road from Sainz. Again, it's really hard to tell if Albon did well or Sainz did bad or whatever because Sainz was on a very, very different strategy. So yeah, I think Albon's had a very good weekend. Similar to Behrman. Excuse me. I think similar to Behrman. Beat his teammate, although didn't beat his teammate as much as Behrman did. And then, yeah, Albon's done his job, gotten points in the Williams that should be getting points. He's finished behind Hadja, though, so maybe you could argue that's not that insane. Yeah, I think I'm going to give Albon an 8. I think he's done his job, to be honest. I think he's done his job and got on what he should be doing. Nothing insane. Nothing bad. I don't know. It's so hard to rate this weekend, man. It's actually so hard to rate this weekend because I'm like part of me wants to give Albon a 9 because he's done a good job, but I'm like, at the same time, like the Williams is capable of making Q3 and he's done that, and the Williams is capable of finishing P9 and he's done that. It's like I don't know. It just seems weird giving Albon a 9 for doing exactly what his car should be doing. I don't know. 8.5 it is. Yeah, I guess the argument, though, is I think Behrman's done a better job of how much he's annihilated his teammate by, whereas Albon's, like, you know. Yeah, I don't know, man. My brain's actually mush. I actually don't want to do these ratings anymore. No, generally, though, my brain's mush, man. My brain's fucking mush. This race, I think the race being so boring means, like, everyone's just the fucking same. Everyone's just the same. I personally think Haas had such a high in China. It's kind of miscued the perspective that Haas is in the fight for the final points. No, you're completely right, Reese. That's what I'm saying. Maybe I am too harsh. Maybe I am thinking Haas are too good. Better than what they actually are. High score just because of his radio. Man, Lincoln Park 7. 9 with better pit stop and strategy would have ended higher. Wait, did it? What happened in the pit stop? Can't rate him higher than Behrman for me. Yeah. Maybe there's an argument to put Behrman as a 9 and L1 as an 8.5. Maybe we can do that. I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to put Behrman up to 9 now after speaking about it. And L1 to an 8.5. But my worry is that I'm very particular of my ratings, and my worry is that the Williams is expected to make Q3, and he's done that, and the Williams is expected to finish best of the rest, and he's done that, and then we're giving him a 9 rating for doing exactly what he should, which is what the 8.5 rating is reserved for. It's kind of like 8 is like you did your job and you did it well, but like I don't feel like you should get a 9 for doing your job. Like, I think getting a 9 would be like beating Lewis, and like getting a 10 would be like in the mix. I don't know. Like he finished behind Hadja. Exactly. He finished behind Hadja. I think Hadja is an example of a driver who did a very good job. And like if we give Hadja a 9.5, you can't give Behrman and Albon a 9. I don't know. It's hard, man. It's hard. You're so harsh on drivers. I don't think I'm harsh on drivers. I just think I keep my ratings realistic. I don't just give 10s for good performances. I don't give 0s for shit performances. Like, There's no point in what's the point in having a rating from 0 to 10 if 10's good and 0's bad? Like 10's got to be perfect, and 0 has to be terrible. 1 has to be absolutely terrible. Agree, 9 is too high. Hedge is an example of a driver who should be in a Red Bull by Jeddah. All right. I don't know, man. I'm torn on Albon. I'll say 8.5. I'll say 8.5 for Albon, 9 for Behrman, and we'll move on. All right. Poll done. Majority of you guys saying 8 as well. Okay. It was weird. In chat, I felt like everyone was not agreeing, but then majority of the poll said 8. So maybe the vocal minority there. All right. Moving on. Next up, we have got the man we were just talking about, Isaac Hadjar. Poll is up. What do you guys vote? Isaac Hadjar on the poll. Give me 1 sec, guys, while you vote. Escape plan. All right. Isaac Hadjar. Let's talk about it. What an amazing weekend, man. So Isaac qualified P7. He was best of the rest again 2 weeks in a row. He outqualified Lewis Hamilton. So he did even better than what he should be doing. He outqualified Lewis Hamilton, Alex Albon, Ollie Behrman. I mean, that's expected. Yeah, I think the V-Carb is expected to be making Q3s, and he's done that. And for him to beat Hamilton and to beat Albon is a good job. Again, it's hard to sit here and be like, oh my god, he's absolutely blah 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 blah, when Liam was non-existent in Q3 and Sainz was non-existent. But still, we can't look them doing bad. We can't then take that away from Hadjar. Hadjar's done a fantastic job. He's qualified P7. He's beaten Lewis Hamilton. He's outqualified his teammate by 1/10. Again, I spoke about it before. I think Liam, and this is not me defending Liam. This is me stopping people from setting these high expectations for Hadjar coming to the next races. I think Liam was only 1/10 off of Hadjar in qualifying, but the gap between them in where they finished looked way bigger than what it should have been because of how tight qualifying was, right? And then in the race, Hadjar finished in P8, best of the rest, although Lewis did get past him. But again, the Ferrari's a faster car, so it should be getting past him. He's finished 3 seconds ahead of Albon, and he's finished, where is it? 40 seconds ahead of Liam. Again, Liam, like Sainz and Albon like Sainz on Albon, different strategy. You kind of can't compare Liam and Sainz's race pace to Hadjar and Albon because they were just completely different. So again, it kind of leaves Hadjar and Albon in this kind of like, okay, how good did they actually do? When the whole rest of the grid, it kind of felt like, the best way to put it, it kind of felt like Hadjar, Albon, and Behrman were kind of the only 3 in the midfield fight this weekend. Usually there's like this strategy and there's this like multiple drivers in the fight, like we saw in Australia and China. But this weekend it was kind of like, it was just them 3. And then it's kind of like, okay, well, Behrman's in the slower car of the 3. Hadjar did the best of the 3, and then Albon's kind of in the middle where he should be. And it's like, I don't know. I think that they all had good weekends, but it's hard for me to be like, I honestly think it's hard for me to be here and be like, they had 10s when they didn't really have much competition. They kind of just did their thing and they did it very, very well. Yeah. Anyways, Hadjar had an awesome weekend, man. Best of the rest. 4 points on the board for V-Carb. He's absolutely smashing it. I really hope he keeps his form up for the next races to come. And obviously, I'd love Liam to be up there with him. And then V-Carb will be really good contenders for best of the rest in the Constructors' Championship. So for me, I'm going to give him a 9.5. I don't think it's a perfect 10. This is not me to diss him. This is just me telling you the reason as to why I don't give him a 10. I think the reason he doesn't get a 10 is because, one, it's really hard to say he had a perfect weekend when so many drivers who should have been there were non-existent, such as Gasly, such as Sainz, such as Liam, right? And such as Yuki and the Red Bull, they were non-existent. So it's hard to kind of compare. But what we can compare him to is Albon and Lewis in the race. And unfortunately, he did get overtaken by Lewis. And, you know, if you're going to use the argument of it's too hard to overtake, well, he did kind of let Lewis past him. So I think if he had finished ahead of Lewis, I 100% would have given him a 10. And if he had finished closer to Lewis, I probably still would have given him a 10. My problem is, Albon finished close behind him. And again, there was just not much competition. So it's hard for me to sit here and say, hey, it's a perfect weekend. So yeah, I would say a 9.5. It would have been a 10 if you had beaten Lewis. That sounds crazy to think about, right? It's crazy to think you have to beat Lewis Hamilton to get a 10. But Lewis in his current form, he's underperforming. And you're in the best midfield car. And with how tight the season is, I think you should be beating Lewis Hamilton. Because last week, Ocon beat Kimi Antonelli in a Haas. And Kimi Antonelli was in a Mercedes. So that's kind of where my logic is, right? I think if you're the best of the rest car and your goal is to kind of beat an underperforming Lewis Hamilton or an underperforming Kimi Antonelli or whoever the fuck it is that week. Yeah. Anyways, 9.5 is still amazing. Don't roast me. Don't roast me. Archangel, same for the follow. Welcome to the stream. All right, anyways, what do you guys got to say about Hadja? 10, how's he meant to beat Max, McLaren's, Ferraris, and Mercedes? I do agree, but giving the driver who finishes best the rest a 10 every single week and just saying, oh, they're a 10, it's perfect. I think like you got to reserve a 10 for a perfect weekend. And I think Hadja could have beaten Lewis that weekend. And that's about it. I mean, again, it's always as perfect gets, but we got to save 10s for perfects, man. We got to save 10s for perfect. Who did we give 10 last week, by the way? Who did we give 10 last week? We gave someone a 10 last week in the midfield. Was it Ocon? No way we gave Ocon a 10. Maybe we did. Oh no, we gave no one a 10 last week. We gave Ocon a 9.5 last week as well. Yeah, we gave Ocon a 9.5 in China. Albon got a 9 last week. Sonoda got a 9. Sonoda got a 9 last race in China. Behrman got an 8 last race in China. Yeah, I'm fine with that. Had issues out of his control and quality as well, then ends up ahead of the. I forgot about that. Maybe we should give him a 10 just because he fucking made it through. He made it as far as he did in qualifying with his nutsack falling off. Also, we can't give 9.5. Chat's 10 is different. He had a damaged car, dude. He had a damaged car in the race. Is this real? When did he get damaged? Lewis is an idol, that's why he let him pass. True. Sup, Oscar, who's my favorite driver? Liam and Max are my 2 favorite drivers. Hadja, 9, beat his teammate, Red Bull, Yuki, and Lewis. 8, Toro Rosso are the best of the rest. He maximized the car and out-qualified Lewis on the point. Yeah, that's the thing. That's another thing. Like, the V-Carb is best of the rest at the moment. So it's like, getting best of the rest isn't like anything crazy. I think we're so early on the season. This happened last year, and this is what I'm trying to avoid with my ratings, is last year, you end up giving drivers who are in the best of the rest car such high ratings. And as the season goes down on, the expectation comes down. And then all of a sudden, you know what I mean? Like let's say Hadja goes on to get P7s. Okay, I'll ask you guys this. If Hadja got P7s for the rest of the year, the whole year, would he still be getting a 9.5 at the end of the year? Or would he be getting an 8? Because at the end of the year, I think the expectation would be so high, you'd end up getting an 8, you know what I mean? So I can't sit here and just give him a 10 because he got best of the rest. So I think we have to be like realistic here. V-Carb is best of the rest. He finished best of the rest. He did his job. He did it very, very well. But it's not perfect. You need to outperform the car. You need to do something crazy to get a 10. Anyways, we'll move on. You guys on the poll said 9 for Hadja. And then a lot of people saying 10, a few people saying 8. Okay. All right, we move on to the big boys now. Next up, we have got Lewis Hamilton. All right, next we got Lewis Hamilton. Poll is up. What do you guys give Lewis Hamilton? There's no such thing as outperforming the car. Yeah, we had this discussion last week. There is such a thing as outperforming the car, which is your car's P4 in pace, and you get P2, get P1. That's outperforming the car. Technically, yes, you cannot. If a car is max speed is 285 kilometers per hour, you can't make it go 286 kilometers per hour, right? No, you can't technically outperform the car, but you can outperform the result of where it should be. AK, all right, VCARB is best of the rest. It should be finishing P8, but you get a P7 or a P6. That's outperforming the car. You're getting a result higher than what the car should be. Anyways, to talk about Lewis. Lewis qualified in P8. He got out-qualified by Isaac Hadjar. He got out-qualified by 4/10 by Leclerc. He got out-qualified by the Mercs, and he had Albon right on his tail. Excuse me. I think Lewis had a very disappointing qualifying. I think Charles kind of showed that Ferrari isn't on the McLaren and Red Bull's level, but it is capable of beating Merc. And Lewis not only got out qualified by the Mercs, but got out qualified by Isaac Hadjar, which is just like, I just think that's disappointing. It's not like a terrible qualifying, but it's quite bad for what that Ferrari should be. And then in the race, he managed to get past Isaac, which I guess is expected. But he finished 11 seconds behind Kimi Antonelli, and he finished 13 seconds behind his teammate. I think Lewis has had a bit of a shocker this weekend. I think that Ferrari was by no means a bad car. I do agree it was not on the level of McLaren of winning the race, but I think it should have been beating the Merc. If Leclerc can beat the Mercs, he should have been beating the Merc. And not only that, like if he wants to claim, oh, it was just qualifying. I think he should have closed up and finished closer to Kimi Antonelli, the rookie in the Mercedes. But Kimi was absolutely flying. So, I think Lewis has had, I don't know, man. I don't even know. Is it an average weekend? Out qualified by your teammate. Finished below where you should be. I don't know if it's an average weekend. I'm probably going to go like 4. Like a 4.5. I don't know. Is 4 too harsh? What are you guys voting? Okay. It's not too harsh based on what you guys voted. But it's a big spread again. Man, the spreads are insane this week on the ratings. I think it just again, it goes to show pecking order's fucked. Everyone's perception of F1's fucked at the moment. I think we're all just going to disagree and agree on every single driver. Like, you know, a lot of people agree with me. Well, not a lot, but a few people agree with me on the Yuki thing. A lot of you guys disagreed. And then we get to Albon and we all, you know, like, yeah, everyone's opinions are all over the place, I think, at the moment. It's really hard to rate. Best of the rest car, P8 and constructor. I read that. You couldn't do anything. Wasn't good from Lewis. He overtook Hadjar, but never really got close to Antonelli. One the highest or lowest? One's the lowest. Probably his worst weekend for Ferrari so far. I think his race pace was worse in China. But weekend as a whole, yeah. I would have 4, but anything in that range is fair, yeah. I think we all agree on most things, but it will depend on the context of your buy. Shut up. Yeah. I understand I'm a Liam fan, but I genuinely don't think, maybe 5%, maybe 10%, I agree. I'm maybe even 20. Let's say 20%, I agree. My bias towards Liam probably does come into my like ratings with Liam and Yuki and stuff like that. And Perez and whoever the fuck else. I do agree it does come into it, but when I talk about my ratings and the way I do my ratings, I don't think me being like, hey, I'm going to look at Yuki's performance is dictated by how Liam did, because I did the exact same thing with Liam where I criticized him, but I also defended him by saying, well, you can't give him a 1 because he didn't crash. You know what I mean? So, you know, I can't win. No, but you're serious. I know. So, but I'm also just responding to it generally, even though I know you're being serious. 8.5 for Alex. He did an awesome job. Not much else. Sorry, I missed some TikTok messages. Yeah, I think I'm gonna rate Lewis 4. Maybe there's a world he did worse. But he didn't do that bad. He didn't crash. He finished ahead of Hadja. He did his job, but he didn't do his job that well. So we'll give him a 4. We'll give him a 4. All right. Majority of you guys saying 4 as well. Few people saying 3. People saying 5. Few people saying 6. Okay. All right. We move on. Next up, we have got... What the fuck? It didn't change. Next up, we've got Kimi Antonelli. What do we rate Kimi Antonelli's Japanese Grand Prix? Now, I'm going to start by saying, in the context of things, as a rookie, he has had a phenomenal weekend, right? So close to Russell, so in race pace, decently close in qualifying, fastest lap of the race. He's had an awesome weekend in the context of things, right? Taking the context of him being a rookie away and throwing it away, just looking at a driver performance versus his teammate, he's still done good. But obviously his rating's not going to be as high as a rookie. Anyways, he's in qualifying. He's been out-qualified by Russell by 2/10. Again, in the context of things, I think that's great. In Antonelli's third race, being that close to Russell is amazing. But obviously, 2/10 off your teammate. It's so funny to me, right? It's so funny. Antonelli got out-qualified by Russell by 2/10. Only one position difference. 1 position difference, 2/10 apart. Yet, you look at Sainz, you look at Liam, you look at... who's the other one? No, not Bortoletto. Is it Doohan? No. No, it's just Sainz and Liam. They were only 1/10 off their teammate. But they're criticized for being so far... They're so far away from their teammate because of the gap. They were closer in time, but lower positions because of how tight it was. Meanwhile, Antonelli was further away from his teammate, but he gets praised for being so close to his teammate. And I think it just goes to show how so many people look at the literal number on the screen of the position rather than actually looking at the pace or rather than looking at the qualifying time. And again, that is not me criticizing Kimi. That is just me saying that, like, if you're going to say Antonelli's close just because he's 1 position away, you need to give props to drivers when they're close in time. Anyways, Antonelli, 2/10 off his teammate. Again, in the context of things, good. Overall, nothing too crazy. But he's out-qualified Hadja. He's out-qualified Hamilton. He's done his job. He's done his job of finishing right behind Russell, starting right behind Russell in qualifying, which is great. Then, in the race, he's finished right behind Russell. But the best thing about this is only 1 second off. Again, in the context of things, he has finished 1 second behind his teammate in his third race at Merc. He is looking so fucking good. But in terms of just rating him as a performance, the Merc finished where it should be. Do you guys think the Merc was better or worse than Ferrari this weekend? Obviously, Leclerc finished ahead of both Mercs, so it was better. But do you think that was because Leclerc outperformed the car, or do you think that was because, yeah. Because I still feel like the Merc is better than the Ferrari, or they're equal. So, Leclerc's beaten Russell, and Russell's beaten Antonelli. So for me, it's kind of like, okay, Mercedes did their job. They finished next to each other. They finished in the points, but maybe they should have beaten Ferrari. Sorry, maybe they should have beaten Leclerc. Yeah, with all that said, I'm going to give Antonelli a 7. I think, again, in the context of things, Antonelli's done fantastic. Give him a 9. You know, he's right on Russell's ass. He's done his job. Just from a performance standpoint, he's done good. He's qualified where he should be, and he's raced where he should be. Should be beating your teammate. Should be finishing hard than Leclerc. But other than that, he's got solid points. He's had a solid weekend. And yeah, he got fastest lap. He looked quick. So yeah, I'm gonna give Antonelli a 7. Completely agree. Most straightforward 7 I've ever seen. 8. Same pace. Leclerc did really well. Russell a bit weaker compared to last week. In my opinion, Ferrari and Mercedes all depend on how the driver is on the day. Yeah, fair. Probably a bit better, but can't really judge. So I guess, Wakey, with what you said, it depends on the driver who's better on the day. In that case, it means you should rate Antonelli lower than Russell lower than Leclerc. That's the way I see it, and I agree. Russell should have been ahead of Charles. Russell underperformed this weekend. Yeah, I agree with that to a degree. I agree with that. I wouldn't say Russell underperformed. I think Leclerc overperformed. Definitely his best weekend as a whole for him, and the youngest race leader. Yeah, honestly, again, in the context of things, youngest race leader ever, fastest lap, track record for race pace, Loved it from Antonelli. But again, at the end of the day, they lost out to Leclerc and the Ferrari, which they probably shouldn't have done. But still, solid weekend. Russell blew quali, but still beat Kimi. Leclerc maximized. Yeah, true. Merckx looked better. Both Merckx should have been ahead of Leclerc. So by far better. Russell himself said pole was on the card. Interesting. Okay, well in that case, if Russell reckons pole was on the card, and Antonelli's done worse than Russell by 2/10, then it's not very good qualifying for Antonelli then, is it? Right, anyways, poll's done. Majority of you guys saying 8, a few of you guys saying 7, a few of you guys saying 9. Okay. We move on. Next up, we have got George Russell. All right, poll is up for Russell. What do you rate Russell out of 10? Guys, if you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on TikTok, come over to the Twitch stream. That is where you guys can get your votes in on the poll in the Twitch chat. Yeah, we do driver ratings like this for every single Grand Prix weekend on a Monday, so tune on in if you want to get your votes in on the poll. All right. Interesting. So wait, so a lot of you guys are saying 7, despite giving Antonelli an 8. But Antonelli finished and qualified worse than Russell. So I guess you guys are just taking the rookie stuff into equation, which, yeah, I guess just rate differently, which is fair enough. Okay, in qualifying, Russell outqualified by, I mean, we've kind of already spoken about it. He outqualified Antonelli by 2/10, but I think he should have been outqualifying Leclerc. I think Mercedes should be qualifying P4 in this situation. So he's gone out qualified by Leclerc, which isn't great. But again, he's out qualified his teammate by 2/10, which is a good job. And then in the race, he's finished 1 second ahead of Antonelli. In the context of things, I don't think that's great from Russell, only slightly outracing a rookie. But obviously, he has outraced a rookie, which is fine. And yeah, I think he should have beaten Leclerc, whether it was in qualifier, whether it was in the race. I think Russell should have been higher up the grid, but he hasn't done bad. He's had a good weekend. I think he's only just missed out on one position. I don't think the Mercedes should be fighting McLaren in qualifying or in the race. So I think he's done a good job. I'm going to give Russell a 7.5. I don't think I give him higher than that. I think an 8 would be reserved for... beating Leclerc in qualifying, and maybe like 8.5 would be beating Leclerc in the race. And then higher than that would be getting in the mix with the McLarens. But yeah. Also, you giving a 7 to Antonelli made sense to me, even though I gave him an 8. So I think 7.5 for Russell was good. Off of your rating, I can't give Russell a whole point over Kimi. I'd say 7.5. I'm between a 6 and a 7 on Russell. He bottled the most important lap of the weekend. That would have secured him P4. Fair. How does his teammate get 8 and Russell get 7, man? Yeah, I mean, that's also probably because, like, we've discussed it and we probably all agree. Well, a lot of people probably changed their minds in between votes. So, yeah. But again, everyone does their ratings differently. You know what I mean? I do mine based off of performance. Other people do theirs based off of rookie and all that context. So I think it is always going to look different between the person, which is fine. Everyone expect Russell to beat Antonelli. You have to take that into consideration. That's got to do with everything within Formula 1. You don't get a full picture otherwise. I agree with you. Next year, I agree with you. Wait. What do you mean by that? Everyone expects Russell to beat Antonelli. You have to take that into consideration. Yeah, but I agree. The thing is, though, you can't look at it and be like, well, Russell should beat Antonelli. You should look at it as like Russell should beat his teammate. It doesn't matter if it's Antonelli, Nikita Mazepin, whoever. Like, yeah. And then if Russell did end up having a teammate like Mazepin, who's dog shit, you then look at where the car should be. And I'd look at Mercedes and look at where the car should be and be like, okay, well, he should probably be better than Leclerc. But I don't know. It comes back to the whole Yuki, Liam, Red Bull, Perez situation where it's like, it's so hard to take car into account when your teammate's so shit. But in this case, he's got a good teammate. But yeah, it's obviously a rookie at the end of the day. Anyways, I don't think we need to say anything more about Russell. Good weekend. Could have been better. Wasn't bad. I think the Mercedes should have been finishing ahead of Ferrari and should have been closer to McLaren. But they haven't done bad. So 7.5. 7.5 for G. Russ. You guys have voted on the poll and said majority 7 as well. Again, interesting that you rated Russell lower than Antonelli, but that could just be because we discussed Antonelli and all that afterwards and then made you guys change your mind. But that's just the way majority polling works. Okay, we move on to P4 now. Next up, we have got Charles Leclerc. Poll is up for Leclerc. What do you guys rate Charles Leclerc's Japanese Grand Prix? Okay, Leclerc in qualified P4. He outqualified Russell. He outqualified Antonelli. Like I think I don't think that should have been possible. I think obviously Antonelli being a rookie, he should have. But in the context of the with where Mercedes was in qualifying, with Mercedes' pace, I think he shouldn't have outqualified them, but he did. He did an awesome job. He was obviously 2/10 off the McLarens, which is expected, and he outqualified Hamilton by 4/10. So Leclerc has done an awesome job in qualifying, in my opinion. I would honestly go ahead and give him like a 9.5 in qualifying. 10, like a 9.5 would have been close to McLaren. 10 would have been beating a McLaren, but yeah. In the race, Leclerc has finished ahead of the Mercedes. Again, it was probably down to that qualifying lap that got him to do that. But yeah, he's held off Russell. He's held off Antonelli. They were looking quick. And I think the biggest thing that no one's spoken about is he finished 14 seconds behind McLaren. Like, you think about in China, I'm fairly sure. What was the chart? No, let me just check before I say this. Oh, no, don't worry. I was going to say, actually, no. Remember. In China, Russell finished 11 seconds behind Piastri, but obviously Piastri wasn't pushing full out. He wasn't pushing full out. Whereas Max obviously is in a slower car. McLaren's weren't able to push full out this weekend. And Leclerc's only finished 16 seconds behind Max. So 15 seconds behind the McLarens. I think that goes to show that the Ferrari is actually capable of being a good car this year. They just, I don't know, they got it right this weekend. They finished ahead of Merc. They just need I don't know, they need to build from this now. But yeah, Leclerc's had a really good weekend. Again, finishing above where he should be. He's finished ahead of the Mercedes. He's finished much better than his teammate, 13 seconds up the road in the race. He's finished quite close to the McLarens for what I expected the Ferrari to be. Honestly, Leclerc's absolutely smashed it this weekend. I think I'm going to give him a 9. I think knocking 0.5 off for maybe could be a little bit closer in qualifying. And that's about it. But, you know, kind of similar, you know, maybe some people would argue he should have a higher rating, but similar to what I said with Behrman and Albon and Hadjar, like, his teammate was nowhere. It's kind of hard to judge. I don't know. He's done an awesome job. I'm happy to give him 9. I think nine's very fair. I don't think you can give him lower than 9. I don't think you give him higher than 9. Like, what's he done wrong to probably get lower than a 9? That's the way I see it. But what are you guys saying, though? We've proven the flaws of democracy here. Feels like he did to Merc what Max did to the McLarens. Not sure he could have done anything more. No, that's a really good point, actually. He did to Merc what Max did to the McLarens. The only thing I would say to that, though, is I feel, and we'll talk about this once we get to Max, I feel the Red Bull is much worse than the Ferrari. Sorry. How do I word this? I think the Red Bull is a very difficult car to drive, whereas the Ferrari I don't think it's a difficult car to drive. It's just slightly slower than Mercedes. But I do agree in the sense of, like, he outperformed the McLarens, like Leclerc outperformed the Mercedes, yeah. Surprised Charles is only getting an 8. I guess it's name expectations. Couldn't have done anything else. Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of people are going to look at the expectations of Leclerc and just be like, oh, that's mid. But I think for relative to where the car is, yeah. I want to say 8.5, but can't vote that. Yeah, fair. All right, looking at the poll. Majority of you guys saying 8. A lot of people saying 9 as well. Yeah, I disagree. I don't think you could vote below a 9 for Leclerc. But again, everyone does their ratings differently. So I get it. I understand. I see. All right, we move on to the top 3 now. The big 3. Let's talk about it. Next up, we have got Oscar Piastri. What do you guys vote Oscar Piastri's weekend? Come over to the Twitch stream. Join us in voting in the Twitch chat if you aren't already. All right. Oscar Piastri in qualifying got out-qualified by his teammate by like 30 milliseconds. It was so fucking tight. At the end of the day, the McLaren should have been P1, P2. It should have been the best car this weekend, just like it's been at the other tracks. It was the best car coming into this weekend. It was the best car this weekend, despite not winning the race. It was the best car. And he's not only not qualified pole, He's not only just not qualified P2, he's qualified P3 behind his teammate. Again, very close to his teammate. It's great to see. But he could have done better. He could have done better. Then in the race, he's finished in P3, mainly because of where he qualified. I think, I don't know if there's a hot take or if this is the general opinion of everyone. I think Piastri should have, I think Piastri was faster than Lando in that race. But because of where he qualified and because of the situation he was in, he wasn't really able to show it. Obviously, we're not going to go into the old argument of he should have been let through and blah, blah, blah. You know, we're not here to talk about Mercedes' performance. We're here to talk about Piastri's as a driver performance. At the end of the day, the McLaren should have won and it didn't. And you are judged by your teammate, and he finished behind his teammate in both qualifying and the race. Has he had a terrible weekend though? Absolutely not. But if the expectation is to win the race or finish P2, and he's finished 1 to 2 positions below that, you know, he's not done what he should be doing in that car. And yeah, I don't think you can give Piastri higher than a 7. To be honest, I don't think you can give Piastri higher than a 7. You know, maybe some people would argue like, well, they've under-delivered and, you know, he was slower than his teammate. But I think him and Norris were so close. I think him and Norris were so close that they should have the same rating. They honestly should probably have the same rating. So, once we discuss Lando, we'll see if it happens. But, yeah, I don't think he should be higher than 7. I don't think he should be lower than 7. I think 7's, like, perfect. He had a good weekend. He got P3. It's fine. But it could have been P2. It should have probably been P1. So, yeah. 7 is too harsh since it was impossible to overtake. Then why did he qualify 3rd in the fastest car? I think he had a good weekend overall, in my opinion. Oscar did a good showing race pace, but he didn't get the result he needed for the World Driver Championship. 100% was the best car. No one can argue with that. They all got purple sectors. They just couldn't execute the full lap. Yeah. I think both McLaren drivers deserve 7, no more, no less. 8 because of the mistake in sector 1 Q3 cost pole. I haven't seen that, to be honest. I haven't seen that. Yeah. Also the strategy, I mean, that's more down to McLaren, isn't it? But, yeah. We still doing this? Yes, we're almost done. Since he missed sector 1 a little and had a huge consequence. Yeah, but at the end of the day, like, I don't know. I get your point. Like if you make a mistake, one little mistake in qualifying, and it fucks everything. Like, it's harsh to just be like one mistake. But at the same time, like, when you come to tracks like Suzuka or Hungary or Monaco, one mistake is your whole weekend. You know what I mean? That one mistake will cost you your whole weekend. So yeah, I think it's fair to rate him harshly because he did make that mistake in qualifying. Oscar an 8. He should have taken Lando. Bottled a pole and therefore race. Shame Suzuka is an aura merchant and shit for racing. He was held up by Lando. Piastri, this is harsh, but I think you see my point. Dropped 3/10 in qualifying. I think it's a 6. Piastri lost 3/10 in the first sector in qualifying. That McLaren was quite a bit faster. Wow, was it 3/10? I didn't even realize that. That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, we're going to end the poll there. Majority of you guys saying 7 as well. Is that the first time we've agreed today? That might be the first time we've agreed today. No, I'm joking, of course. But, yeah, 7 for Piastri. All right, moving on to Lando. Lando, what do we rate Lando out of 10? Type in Twitch chat what you vote for. This is going to be an interesting one. How have I instantly seen a 5 and a 4 out the gates? Okay. Qualifying. Lando Norris is qualified P2. Again, exact same thing as I said about Piastri. The McLaren should be getting P1, and it got P2. It's crazy to think the standards that McLaren have, but when you look at the car, and I know Lando Norris and Piastri will disagree on me on this. I know McLaren and some McLaren fans will disagree with me on this. McLaren have the fastest car, and they didn't qualify on pole. So they've underachieved, right? And they're not just underachieved to even a Mercedes. They've underachieved to a Max Verstappen in a Red Bull that is very hard to drive. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we'll talk more about it once we get to Max, but yeah, I don't think it should have been getting P2 or P3 this weekend. End of the day, he outqualified his teammate. So he's done his job. He's qualified P2, which isn't terrible. I think the standards for McLaren are probably a bit too high for some of the ratings I see you guys giving in chat. And then in the race, I think his race pace slacked a little bit. I do think Oscar Piastri was quicker. In race pace, but I think yeah, again, Lando only finished 1 second behind Max. I think it was a shame that he struggled to get closer to Max, but I guess we'll never really know because Piastri wasn't given that opportunity to kind of chase down Max. I think the pit situation was a bit embarrassing. I think he was lucky to have not put it in the wall. I think, you know, there is an argument if he didn't do that, could have he warmed up his tire quicker to get past Max before his engine overheats and before his car catches on fire and stuff like that. Yo, Dom! Thank you for the raid, dude. I appreciate it, man. Welcome everyone in from Tom's stream. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you had a good stream with them, playing some F1 game, I assume. You guys have tuned on in to the end of my driver ratings. We're currently doing our driver ratings for the Japanese Grand Prix. We're up to Lando Norris. So type in chat what you vote for on the poll for Lando Norris this weekend out of 10. Obviously, you've missed the other 18 drivers that we've spoken about. But yeah, 1 is a bad Grand Prix. 10 is a perfect Grand Prix. Vote in chat what you vote for. Yeah, we got Lando Norris and Max still to rate. But thank you, Tom. I appreciate it, dude. Hope you had a good stream today, man. Wolfie Queen, thank you for the follow. Much love for the family. What's up, Sunrisers? What's up, Lethal Experiment? Goku, Oliver James, Bob Game. What's up, guys? Clown shit. It's just a disgrace to that car that, and this is, or that way neither him nor McLaren has the championship mindset. Sucked. okay. Something to be the turtle. Okay, anyways, back to what I was saying before Tom rated very kindly. Thank you again, Tom. I really do appreciate it, man. Continuing on with what I was saying was, yeah, at the end of the day, McLaren should have got pole and they should have won the race, but P2 and P3 isn't terrible. In the grand scheme of things, in the context of the championship, he should have done better. They should have done better, but and his race pace should have been better. But yeah, at the end of the day, he beat his teammate. He still finished P2. I'm gonna give Lando a 7.5. I think I'm gonna give him the same. I'm gonna give him a high. Oh, what did I give Piastri? No, I'm giving him the same rating as Piastri. I'm giving him the same rating as Piastri. He outqualified Piastri. It was very tight. I think Piastri made up for it with the better race pace. To be honest, you could argue he should get a lower rating for his antics in the pit, but I don't think it would be fair to knock points off for something that didn't affect his position or anything. I agree with you guys. It's very embarrassing McLaren weren't able to get past Max, but I don't think you can rate them lower than a 7. You know, like, they finished P2, they finished P3, they were quick in quali, they were quick in the race, they just didn't beat Max Verstappen. And I think that's more a testament to Max Verstappen than Lando Norris and Piastri. I think if you had to lay blame on why Lando and Piastri didn't win the race, I think number 1 is Max. Number 1 reason why they didn't win was Max. That's the reason. Number 2 is McLaren and their dumb strategy. Number 3 is then Lando probably being a bit too slow at the end of the race. And then number 4 is just Piastri. But I don't think you lay any blame on Piastri individually as a driver. So, yeah, I'm going to give both Lando and Piastri a 7. Good weekends, but they didn't win in the fastest car. They didn't outqualify a slower car. They made mistakes in their qualifying laps. And Lando ultimately race pace wasn't that great. So yeah, 7 for both of them, I think. Yeah, just wasted my first time chatter message. You might have, but hey, you voted on the poll, man. You voted on the poll. Sounds like a Ferrari fan. He did cut the grass through kind gesture. He didn't beat his teammate. Oscar was asked to hold position. Yeah, but he still outqualified him, didn't he? I expect Norris to outperform Piastri also. I heard that Lando's pace was the same as Verstappen's throughout the race, and Oscar was 0.3 seconds slower. Yeah, 0.03 is so minimal, though, that it's almost irrelevant. But him saying Lando's pace is the same as Max, I mean, yeah, if you're stuck behind the car in front, you are going to be the same pace as them. And you need to be quicker to get past. So yeah, I don't think he should have been the same pace in a McLaren, personally. He was slower than Piastri in both quali and the race. Piastri fucked it in quali, and that's the only reason he was ahead in the race. I'm guessing McLaren told them not to race and save tyres. McLaren not differing strategies was dumb. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you know me. I'm the biggest McLaren critic. I'm the biggest Lando critic. I'm a big Lando critic. I'm a big McLaren critic. But I think it's very harsh to give Lando a Piastri lower than a 7 for getting a P2 and a P3 when it's ultimately McLaren's fault for them not winning in the race. But qualifying is both their faults. So yeah, you need 8/10 pace advantage to overtake, says Stella. Yeah, Lando was a 10th faster than Max, just overtaking is hard. Just a good weekend, not much more. Yeah, exactly. I wonder if he damaged his floor, to be honest. Who? Lando? Maybe, but they haven't said anything. Nando Loris is a little 7. He should have been first and Max a 10. 5 for Norris on the back foot all weekend. He drove himself into the grass. Oh, I think that's really harsh, Andrew. 5 for a P2 is crazy. And beating your teammate. It's the first Q3 run every time he bottles. Yeah. The bias in Twitch chat, look at those ratings compared to Oscar. Yeah, I'm surprised that Lando's been rated lower. We'll end the poll there. Majority of you guys saying 7, so same as Oscar, but yeah, more on the 6 end than the 8 end, which was different to Piastri's. So yeah, I'm surprised, man. I'm surprised you guys are rating Lando this low. I mean, I get the expectation for Lando is much higher, but acting like he had a Lewis Hamilton-esque weekend, I don't think that's true. All right. We move on to the final driver on an absolutely monstrous weekend. Max Verstappen. What do you guys rate Max Verstappen's weekend? I mean, look, there's opinions and there's facts. And I think there's only one rating you could give Max Verstappen this weekend. Absolutely fucking insane. Let's talk about it. So, coming into the weekend, if I'm being honest, this is probably the first time ever, other than Sao Paulo 2024, which, hello, was Max Verstappen. Wait, no way we're going to get 100% on the 10s. No way we're going to get 100% on the 10s. Coming in, this might be the first weekend, other than Sao Paulo 2024, where I would give a driver genuinely an 11 out of a 10. Although in Sao Paulo 2024, Max had a poor sprint quality and a not so good sprint. This weekend was absolutely not flawless, because the flawless isn't even the right word. Flawless, the definition of flawless is you made no mistakes, which he did. He wasn't just flawless, he overperformed, right? Coming into this weekend, that Red Bull was predicted to be the 4th best car, behind Mercedes, behind Ferrari, and obviously behind McLaren. Then, as the weekend was playing out, FP1, FP2, FP3, the Red Bull was nowhere. It was tough to drive. Even Q1 and Q2 in qualifying, it was tough to drive. But in that Q3 lap, he strung it together. You know, while the McLaren set 3 purple sectors, he strung all his laps together through perfectly. He strung all the sectors together perfectly and got the perfect lap that he probably could have in that Red Bull. Absolutely outperforming that car and sticking on pole. Then, coming into the race, people still doubted him. A hard to overtake track. People still doubted him. Oh, the McLaren's too quick. It's going to get past, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, are you for real? This is so hard to overtake. If Max can just do what he did in qualifying, whenever the McLaren is close, he'll be able to hold off. And he did exactly that. What an awesome race. Absolutely flawless. Great race start. Held off the McLarens. When the McLarens started to push, he pushed. Making sure the McLarens didn't get in DRS range at all. You know, Lando was playing the silly game in the pit lane. He wasn't having any of it. He didn't even let McLaren get DRS. He didn't even let McLaren get DRS once. It was an absolutely insane weekend from Max. If I could give him 11, I could. It's a 10. It's 100% a 10. The best 10 of the year. This is why, right? This is why you have to save 10s, right? Whenever someone gives a 10 to a driver, and I'm like, but it's not a 10 though. And they're like, what more could have he done? This is what they could have done. You have to save 10s for races like this. For races like Sao Paulo 2024. For races like, I'm trying to think of the weekends where a driver's just completely dominated. You have to save 10s for weekends when they not only just max out the car, but they just overperform. There's definitely 10 rated races for drivers other than Max. It's hard to think of any when Max is just such an amazing driver. And that's not even me glazing. Like, this was an awesome weekend. One of Max's best weekends. I would say It's up there in terms of Sao Paulo. Sao Paulo, Max had a better car, but he started P17 in the wet. That's fucking insane. You could argue, he got a little bit saved by the safety car. Whereas this weekend, I genuinely think he had the 4th fastest car. Genuinely, like I'm not even saying that to just make Max sound better. I think he had the 4th fastest car coming into this weekend. He had the 4th fastest car in qualifying, and he put it on pole, and he won the race. And it's just absolute masterclass and an absolute fumble from McLaren. You know, maybe the only thing you could argue and say this is not worthy of a 10 is by saying McLaren fumbled so hard, Max didn't do a good job. But I think Max's qualifying was so good that it made you realize, oh, yeah, McLaren might have thrown the race, but it was all Max. It was all Max in quali. Yeah. Anyways, what are you guys going to say? What are you guys going to say? So many 10s coming through. In this ass car 10. Did you see Max said if he had the McLaren, they won't even see him? Yeah, I'm surprised Max said that. The car was clearly the best. What do you mean? Wait, are you trolling next to you? Or are you actually legit? If so, what made you think that the Red Bull was the best? 10, you literally can't do more than this. Don't even let Lando get DRS. I'm going to say 9 just to not get 100%. No, you've ruined it. Not one Lewis or Lando diehard in the chat. No, the thing is, though, I've seen so many I've seen so many Ferrari and even McLaren fans and Mercedes fans this weekend praise Max, which I've never seen before. Like, even Sao Paulo 2024, I still saw, I was saved by the safety car. I was saved by, that car's just good in the wet. Blah, blah, blah. The other team's true. This weekend, I saw all the Sky Sports praise Max, which is like very British heavy, but you know, that's kind of normal for them to praise Max when he does good. I saw Mercedes and Ferrari fans being like, thank fuck Adrian Newey left because that's our only chance of beating him. Like, I haven't seen a single bit of hate or like criticism or anything towards Max or anyone say it's not good. Other than Nixie in chat right now. No, Nixie. Okay, Nixie must have been trolling that. I'm just a Red Bull hater, can't lie. But he deserves a 10. Perfect weekend, nothing else said. So good, incredible. C-Hop, no, you ruined it. What a Chad for that banger Q3 lap and keeping the McLarens behind. Easy rating for me. Ponden's plot to only give 10s to Max as successful. Hey, I gave a 10 to someone in Australia. I gave a 10 to Lando in Australia. What do you mean? Wait, did I? Maybe I didn't. But no, you got to save 10s for perfect weekends. And this is perfect. This is perfect. If McLaren let Oscar through, Max would be leading the championship. Oh, interesting. Sao Paulo was bigger and more on the line. That as well. Sky Sports was surprisingly generous to Max. I do think people over-exaggerate Sky Sports' hate for Max, but like I do think when he's good, they praise him, but I do think when it comes to like incidents and stuff like that, they always like grill him more than he should, but yeah. Anyways, that is Max, a 10 out of 10. I think, is that the first 10 this season? I don't even know, but we're in the poll there. I don't even think we needed to rock the poll. Every single person but one person. Why did you have to ruin it? Everyone other than one person voting 10, which just goes to show how insane all the Ferrari, McLaren, Mercedes fans, neutral fans have come together to be like, yeah, that was a nuts weekend. And you know what's crazy? Every dad and their dog, every team, every driver, other than Lando, sit here and say, wow, Red Bull are the 4th fastest car. And there's still people out there who go, why is that good for Max? He literally won. It was like the 2nd fastest car. Like, what do you mean? Like, it blows my mind. Like, those people have to be watching their eyes shut because we literally witnessed a race that in, 5-10 years time, we're going to look back on and be like, what the fuck? How did he get pole? And how did he win in the 4th fastest car that is that hard to drive where his teammate finished 15? Oh, we didn't even talk about Yuki because at this point, it's fucking irrelevant. He finished 15 positions up the road in qualifying, 5 tenths ahead in qualifying, and 1 minute ahead of his teammate in the race. You know what I mean? Like, even, we didn't have to talk about that to give him a 10. That's just how insane Max is at the moment. People will say that Max has no chance to keep P1 after quality. Yeah, exactly. I was like, guys, you're doubting him. Max didn't even get the fastest lap. True, he didn't get the fastest lap. True. 9.5 it is. LM6, the Blueberry. PJ, thank you guys for the follow as well on the stream. Anyways, guys, that is it for our ratings. Thank you all for joining me. A bit of a messy ratings. I feel like Australia was very messy because it was the first race of the season. We didn't know the pecking order. and it was absolute chaos. Then China was a bit more normal, but we had a sprint weekend, so that was a bit all over the place because of the sprint weekend. And now this weekend was a bit more stock standard, except we had such a boring race that it was really hard to kind of rate people and decide who is good, who is bad. We spent a lot of time talking about Alonso, about Liam, a lot about Yuki, about Behrman, where, you know, some of us thought these drivers did really good. Some of us thought these drivers did really bad. It was a lot of like, it depends on the pecking order and it depends on how you rate. So obviously as the season goes on, we're all going to become more closer minded in what the pecking order is. We're all going to start finally. I mean, for me, I can't wait for people to stop using yeah, but he's a rookie. We're not rating him as a rookie. We're rating him in performance. So as the season goes on, that will go away. And yeah, I think ratings will just come easier as the season goes on. But yeah, today was a bit messy, I think, for a few drivers just because it was so hard to decide what the pecking order was. But either way, I appreciate everyone tuning on in and discussing everything with me, whether you agree with me or not, whether I agreed with you or not. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I really like doing driver ratings this way. Yeah. Anyways, guys, thank you all for watching. YouTube and TikTok gang. We're going to end the streams there. Come over to Twitch. We'll be wrapping up the stream soon. Yeah, we will be live. TikTok and YouTube gang. Next time I'll be live will be for practice 1 for Bahrain. So I'll see you guys for practice 1 at Bahrain. But yeah, I'll be live on Twitch for other streams this week. So be sure to just follow on Twitch if you haven't already. But yeah, that is it for today. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.